Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the France Hall Lounge. And this morning we're going to be visiting Scotland, to the ancient capital, the ancient medieval capital of Scotland, which is my hometown, which is Dunfermline. So Dunfermline is known for the original Carnegie Hall, Pittencrieff Park, and it's the birthplace of the worldwide known philanthropist Andrew Carnegie, famous musicals and pop singer Barbara Dixon, and the famous Stephen Steak Bridies, which I will tell you more about later. It's home to the final resting place of the body of Scotland's greatest and most beloved ruler, King Robert the Bruce. And also it's the former capital of Scotland, and the original Carnegie Hall is there. So my name is Karen Worrall, I'm your EXC guide, and I'm especially delighted to talk with you today about my very hometown, which is Dunfermline in Scotland. So, what's in a name? The name Dunfermline actually comes from a Gaelic word. Now, Gaelic is the old language of Scotland, and the word is separated into three parts. Now, Dun means fortified hill, Ferm is from the Old Scots word that means farm, and Lyn is from L-Y-N-E, Lyn, which is a burn or a small river. So Dunfermline means the farm town on the hill with a river by it, which is basically what it is. So we have a coat of arms in Dunfermline. There's a lot of history in Scotland, and everywhere we have coats of arms. So the one from my town is Esto Rupis Inaccessa in Latin, which means be thou an inaccessible rock. And you can see here the symbol is two lions holding up a fortress, which is basically what the city was built around. Now, this is where we are. You are here. Now, this is Scotland, and this little Scotty dog shape here, this is the Kingdom of Fife, this is the region of Fife, this is where Dunfermline is, and this is where Edinburgh is, down here. Now we're docked right here, near Edinburgh, in South Queensferry, in the river, the Firth of Forth, and Dunfermline is just across the water, and about 3.5 miles or 5 kilometres inland from the river on that side. So that's where we dock today. Now this is the river, and these are the 4th bridges. We've got 3 of them, and we had 1 bridge built in each century. So the end of the 1800s saw the first one on the left. This is the 4th rail bridge, and that's where we're going to be docked just behind there because we're too big to fit underneath. And then the next one in the middle is the 4th road bridge, which was built in 1956. And then right here is Queensferry Crossing. Now this is a brand new bridge that's literally just been opened. And so we've got a great panorama view of the 3 bridges, and that's what we'll see as we sail in. So Dunfermline was founded a very long time ago. We've got ruins and different things have been found there from as far back as the Neolithic period. But the town became a proper town and very important in 1068, when St. Margaret and King Malcolm Canmore got married. Now Dunfermline was very important historically and religiously because of its 2 founders. So this is King Malcolm Canmore's tower. At the moment it's ruins now. This is where the town started. This is the very heart of it in Pittencrieff Park, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. Now he made the town very important historically because he was the king. He made it the seat of power for Scotland, and therefore it became the capital of Scotland for more than 300 years. And it was a royal borough until 1975 when royal boroughs were abolished. So it's been very important historically for a long time, thanks to Malcolm. Now his wife, St. Margaret, she made the town very important religiously. Now what she did was she started the abbey, which is here on the left. That's it looking beautiful in the snow in the winter, in 1128. Now it was built up there. It was a very important place religiously. It had boroughs as far north as Moray and as far south as Berwick, almost at England. This is the nave at the side here. Now this place romanticised religion a bit. It's a beautiful abbey, and it made this very important throughout Scotland, so it had a lot of power. And St. Margaret was a very nice lady and very popular, and obviously St. Margaret, this is where she used to pray. This is St. Margaret's Cave, which you can go to see when you're in Dunfermline, and it's between the Bruce Street car park. You will find that there. And this is what it looks like outside. It's free admission to go in, and inside you can see the cave itself, and we have a statue of St. Mary where she used to go to pray. Okay, now we have more history. This is the Dunfermline Palace. This is right next to the abbey, and this was built after the abbey was built in 1128. Now, this has been here for a very long time, and this is where the royals of Scotland used to live, which is why it's the palace. A lot of royal people were born here over the years, and also at the moment there's only part of it is left. And so this is where all the royals would live and were crowned up in Scone Palace in Perth. And so this is why it's very, very important. So, the Abbey is also the final resting place of kings and queens. And it's been like that for a very long time. So, the final famous king to have been buried here was King Robert the Bruce in 1329. And this is why you can see at the top of the Abbey here, it says King Robert the Bruce all the way around the top of it here. He's the most famous resident there, and he's Scotland's most beloved king. His heart is buried in Melrose, but his body is right here in Dunfermline underneath the Abbey. Okay, now next to the Abbey, you can find Abbot's house. Now this is where the abbot used to live. Now the abbot was the person who would tend to the Abbey, he would look after it, and this is where he lived. Beautiful pink house. And this has been here since the 15th century, and it's right next to the Abbey, right at the edge of the grounds. It's a very nice place to visit. And now actually upstairs it has a museum which tells you all about Dunfermline's history, the history of the abbot and the Abbey. You can see that on the left, and on the right you can see there's some very nice gardens out at the back of it as well. Now, the gardens are very well tended, and they're a nice place to sit and enjoy a little bit of tea, because we have a tea room right here. Now this is a little bit lesser known place in Dunfermline, Abbot's house. It's one of my favourite places. This is a tea room inside, and it's got the old cellars. They have very nice local home baking, especially the scones, and this is where I like to go with my granny. We go here for cups of tea, so it's a nice place to see. Now, something else you might not know about Dunfermline is the golf. Now, everybody knows Scotland is the home of golf. This is the original home of golf, the old course in St Andrews. But Dunfermline is actually located pretty much halfway between St Andrews on the east Nook of Fife and Edinburgh. And so there's a lot of famous courses like Gullin around the Edinburgh area and St Andrews. But Dunfermline is smack bang in the middle, and it has a lot of golf for the size of the place. There are 4 golf courses. Now it's a small town, only 50,000 people live here, so this is quite a lot of golf. And we've got the Treaty Golf Club on the top left there, Canmore on the top right, Dunfermline on the bottom left, and Salin Golf Club on the bottom right in one of the villages just outside it. Now this one is my favourite. This is called the Dunfermline Golf Club, and this is in the village of Crossford, where I'm from, where my parents still live. This is where my father golfs. The clubhouse is actually a castle. This is the Halkett House, and this has been here since the 1500s as well. So it's a very nice clubhouse. And as you can see, we've got history everywhere. This is just 2 miles outside of Dunfermline. Now, while you're in Dunfermline, another thing that you should definitely check out is the food. Now, Scotland isn't always known for being, the best place culinary-wise. We've got a bad reputation. We like to deep fry things and have a lot of sugar, and we're not that healthy. But this is one of the nice things to have. Now, we have a place called Stephen's the Bakers, and it was founded by Edward Stevens in 1883. It's still going, a family-run business, and they have 3 of their shops in the centre of town. And this is their most famous dish that they have. This is called the Stevens Steak Bridies, or pie. So a bridie is Scottish word for a pie, or pasty, and it's got the finest Aberdeen Angus steak in it, very soft, fluffy pastry on the top. So it's very nice. So while you're there, definitely check out the steak bridie if you like things like that. Now, something that's been in the news recently about Dunfermline is the reopening of the Dunfermline Carnegie Library and Galleries. Now, the Carnegie Library was originally opened in 1883, and so this was founded by Andrew Carnegie, who I'll talk about in a moment. But this reopened recently in May. Now, what they did was they extended the original library is at the back there, and it's now got galleries as well. There's a museum which is dedicated to giving information about the history of Dunfermline, the history of the people, and how people lived. It's free to go in. And there's some exhibitions about local life, toys, memorabilia, and then on the left you can see things like we've got an old scooter there. There's a guitar from Nazareth, a famous Scottish rock band, as they're from Dunfermline as well. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story about Scotland's most famous son. Now, it's a man you might have heard of, and his name is Andrew Carnegie. Now, he was born in 1835 in Dunfermline, and he emigrated to Pennsylvania in the United States when he was 13 years old. So he originated from Dunfermline, moved over to the US, and he started off working as a telegram worker. Then he worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad for 3 years. He started investing in oil, and he learned as much as he could about the railroad business. And so once he learned everything, he started his own oil company. So when he started this, it was called the Carnegie Steel Company, and it revolutionized steel production in the United States. And his secret was, for every step of the process, he owned everything he needed. He owned all that he needed for it. He didn't use outside contractors, it was all him. So this helped him become a dominant force in the industry, and he was really one of America's builders, as his business shaped how the country is today. So he's Scottish and got a lot of roots with the US as well. He was one of, at the time he became the richest man in the world. In 1889, the Carnegie Steel Corporation was the largest of its kind in the world. But however, by 1901, he decided, I'm fed up of earning all this money. It's time to give back. So he sold his company to the United States Steel Corporation, to J.P. Morgan, who you may have heard of, and this earned him over $200 million. And this is what made him the richest man in the world. Imagine $200 million in 1901. Amazing. So he decided to start giving back. Now, the self-made steel tycoon was one of the wealthiest businessmen of the 20th century, and he decided he was going to give back. And the first thing he wanted to do was build libraries. Now, he was an avid reader his whole life. He didn't have a lot of formal education when he was young, but his family very much believed in the power of books and learning. So he started, the very first library was, guess what? Yeah, the one in Dunfermline. And then after that, he built libraries in New York and all around the US. There's a lot of libraries all around Scotland. And overall, there's 2,811 libraries that have been funded purely from Andrew Carnegie. So I think that's pretty good. Very generous man. This is one of his most famous quotes. There's several books being written about him and by him with quotes of his mantras for life. And this is one of my favorites. There's little success where there's little laughter. So he believed in always enjoy what you're doing and bring something forward that you really believe in. So this is the original Carnegie Hall, where I've sang in. So yes, I can say I've sang in Carnegie Hall. It's true, I have many times. But this one, not the other one. This is the other one. I haven't sang in that one. Not yet, anyway. And so this is, of course, the one that most people might have seen or been to and definitely heard of. Now, if you want to learn more about Andrew Carnegie while you're in Dunfermline, you can go and check out his Birthplace Museum. It's in the Handloom Weaver's Cottage on Moody Street. This is it here, from his humble beginnings. There's exhibitions about his life and also about the town. We have different art exhibitions which will change throughout the years. They'll show local artists, local kids will have exhibitions here. It's very nice. It's free entry. You can check that out too. Now, these are some of the most important buildings that he donated to his town. So he donated so much of his, almost all of his fortune he gave away. And he started by showing appreciation of where he started off his life in Dunfermline. So on the top left, we have the original Carnegie Hall with the Music Institute next to it. On the right, we've got the Carnegie Leisure Centre, which is Victorian swimming pool and gyms. It's just been redone up as well inside. Very, very nice place. On the bottom left, we've got Fife College, or it used to be called Lauder College. He named it after his uncle, George Lauder. And then over on the right here, we've got the libraries, of course. But the most important thing that Andrew Carnegie left behind for Dunfermline was this. This is Pittencrieff Park, otherwise known as the Glen, which is what the locals affectionately call it. Now, it's a very large green space. It's a beautiful park. And you can see on the top here, on the left, this is Pittencrieff House, which is now a museum. And then also you can see the Abbey in the background. Down in the bottom left, we've got we have greenhouses there, very nice gardens, and this is some of the flowers. Now, all these photos I've taken myself around Dunfermline, so this shows you what it's really like. We also have the Bruce Festival in August. If you're in Dunfermline in August, check this out. This will take place in Pittencrieff Park, and it celebrates the links to King Robert the Bruce. We have battle reenactments, food fairs. It's very nice, lots of things. And so in the centre of the park, there's a bronze statue celebrating Andrew Carnegie for all the good things he did for town. All right. So while you're in Dunfermline, I have some top tips for you, and those are: soak up the history in the historic quarter. Everything is very close by. You'll see the Abbey, the Dunfermline Palace ruins, the Carnegie Birthplace Museum, the Andrew Carnegie Library and Galleries, and St Margaret's Cave. Take a stroll around the Glen and check out the modern and traditional shops that we have in the High Street. It's good for some souvenirs as well as practical things. And try a steak bridie. So this is a Dunfermline's heritage quarter. As you can see, everything's very close by. This is the Abbey right in the middle here. You've got the Abbot's house there in the pink building. Right over here, you've got the Dunfermline Palace, and then the Carnegie Birthplace Museum is just down there 3 blocks. And then going down off to this side, that's where the start of Pigeon Crave Park is. So you can see a lot of history in a very short time. Now, some practical information for you tomorrow when we arrive. We arrive at 8 a.m., we leave at 8 p.m. And we're going to have to take a tender in to get ashore. That's been explained already. But that will drop us at South Queen's Ferry, which is just south side of the river. And the last tender will be at 7:30 p.m. The weather forecast, very lucky for Scotland. It's going to be mostly sunny and 20 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Now let's talk about the money, honey. If you haven't already changed your money, at the moment $1 is the equivalent to 75 pence in Great British pounds. So you can change that when you're in Dunfermline, in the High Street, in banks, travel agents, and also the post office. So this is how you can get there. You can see this is where we'll get off the boat. We'll be in Queen's Ferry here, and you can take one of the EXC tours over to Dunfermline. You can see a lot of the history on them, or if you choose to go over yourself, these are the routes that you take over to take the local bus or the local train. Come and see me later at my desk hours, and I can give you timetables for all of those. It's very cheap, and they run every 20 minutes, so it's nice and easy. All right, so before I leave you, I'm going to give you a little bit of local lingo. Now, Scotland has a reputation for having strong accents. Not only that, we have Gaelic, the traditional language, but also we have something called Old Scots, which is basically somewhere in between. And a lot of people, especially in Dunfermline, will use a lot of slang words, so I'm going to get you prepared. So someone from Fife, the region that Dunfermline is in, is called a fifer, or wee fly fifer, and a bridie, you know that one already, that's a pie or a pasty. You could say, when you order your pasty, what my accent get bigger here, you could say, I'll hae a bridie please, I'll have a bridie please. If you want to tell someone to be quiet, you say wheesht, or hold your wheesht, be quiet. If you think someone or something is beautiful or handsome, you can call them bra. Or if something is pretty, you call it bonny. For example, saying, I'm from bonny Scotland, that doesn't mean bonny's not a place, it means pretty. And then a blether. Now that's someone who talks a lot. My dad calls me that, I have no idea why. Cool. And here we go, that's it. Thank you very much for coming and joining me today. Have a broad day in sunny Dunfermline. Enjoy the history, enjoy the scones, enjoy the bridies, enjoy the view, everything. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you later. Thank you.